Hello, everyone, and welcome to an interesting discussion we're going to have today with between me and Mr. Bartholomew. Question we were talking about before we started recording was: Is Spider-Man No Way Home, which came out 2 years ago, good, or did everyone when the film came out just have nostalgia glasses on? So I
Yeah,
will be giving our summary of this film. This film starts off in the beginning where we meet. No, we don't meet. We start off where the second film ended with Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, gets his identity revealed, gets harassed by the media, gets paint dumped on him, gets saved by um Daredevil in the lawyering sense. Um, what else happened?
forgot
Then
about that actually. I forgot he was there.
I didn't. I just remember that because uh, the reason I remember it is because they had Charlie Cox playing Daredevil, and Happy Hogan played Froggy Nelson in the 2003 version of Daredevil with Ben Affleck. So like that's a weird connection of Daredevils. That's kind of funny. Anyways, then Peter tries to go to Doctor Strange, asks him if he can erase everyone's memory of that he is Spider-Man, and then adds too many list of people to still remember it. Adds Aunt May, adds Ned, adds NJ, and eventually the spell breaks, causing a bunch of people who know who Peter Parker is Spider-Man to come into our universe. Our first villain we meet after Peter tries to convince Harvard, I think it was Harvard, can't remember what college it
Yeah, it's
was,
Harvard.
Harvard to let he, MJ, and Ned to try again to get in there because they were denied. And Peter presumes it's because they know that he is Spider-Man and they're friends of Spider-Man. And we meet our first villain to return. What is that actor's name? I've forgotten it.
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina's Otto Octavius. Otto steals the nanotech from Peter, and Peter, I have to admit, it was a funny scene. Starts playing with the arms. Then, then we see the Goblin, and then Doctor Strange teleports Dr. Otto Octavius and Peter. Peter gets a magic teleportation web thingy. He finds Sandman. He finds Electro. Sandman from the 2000 from the Sam Raimi trilogy, and Electro from the 2012 Amazing Spider-Man franchise. Did that start in 2012 or
It was
2010? I can't
2012.
remember.
It was 12.
2012. Thank you. I can't remember every date in my head. And then while Peter was dealing with Electro and Sandman, Aunt May finds the Green Goblin. And in his, I have to admit, it is kind of funny. In his reject Power Ranger costume, because that's what the Sam Raimi costume kind of looks like. It looks like a Power Rangers costume.
Yeah, kind
And
of.
Peter collects Norman, and during so, Doctor Strange found a giant lizard in the sewers. Funny enough, where you usually find a lizard. Then Peter tries to redeem them after they all find out, except for Sandman, and I don't remember if Electro died. Did Electro die in his film? I thought he didn't die. I thought he just got cured.
No, he died.
Okay, so only Sandman is the only villain that didn't die. No, so he would have nothing to worry about. He didn't die in his film, till we know. But Peter tries to save them all and cure them. Doctor Strange is not happy about that. Saves all of sends Peter into the mirror dimension after after a little bit of geometry, which somehow beats magic somehow. He
Yeah, I
gets stuck
mean,
hovering
makes
over
sense
the
to me.
gets stuck hovering over the Grand Canyon covered in webs. Steals his ring thing, which should not be as easy to steal as it is. tries to cure all the villains. Norman turns bad again. But before Norman turned bad, they cured Otto. Otto gave back the nanotech, and I still now think I'm thinking now on it. That in integrated suit's kind of ugly. It's kind of an ugly costume.
Yeah.
But then Norman goes crazy because he's still the Goblin. All the villains leave, but including Otto Octavius, oddly. Uh, Norman kills Aunt May, giving him the "with great power comes great responsibility" line. Finally, took him long enough to
All
get
right,
it.
first time they said it in the entire franchise. Yeah, I'm not salty
And
about that.
we'll get to your opinions in a minute. I still have to summarize a bunch of crap. I'm not done yet. And I'm going off the fly of what I can remember because it has been a minute. I did not rewatch it because I don't think you can get it on any streaming service yet. Let's see what else I don't remember. Peter then sulking goes to the top of the high school, and then Mary Jane, not Mary Jane, she's not Mary Jane, she's MJ. I'm gonna call her
Michelle
MJ.
Jones.
I could remember, and I don't care enough to remember either. And Ned tried to find Peter with the sling ring and find Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Do the funny pointing gag slightly, clean up all the webs, and they bring Peter and Peter to Peter. That's not going to get confusing at all. They bring Tobey Maguire Peter, Andrew Garfield Peter to Tom Holland Peter to tell about how they lost. For Tobey Maguire, it's Ben, Uncle Ben. For marriage, no, for Andrew Garfield, it's Gwen Stacy, and for now, tell them how they could do it. They come up with a plan to cure all the villains. They cure all the. They go to the. They call it the Green Goblin using J. Jonah Jameson, which happy to have J.K. Simmons back. That was fun. He was
Yeah,
born to play that role still.
yeah, I think he's great
And
at it.
go to the top of the Statue of Liberty, which for some reason was getting a Captain America shield for some reason. Don't know why. Then they fight, cure all the villains except for one. Norman hasn't been cured yet. I will say before I'll finish my summarization. Uh, Holland Spider-Man tries to kill Norman instead of curing him. Toby not cures him. Toby does cure him, but Toby holds back the glider, and Doctor Strange was able to finally get out of those spinning webs and got released by Ned. Resets, and Tom Holland asks Strange to make the spell again, but it makes sure everyone forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah, so
No, so
essentially
no, no,
factory
no,
reset.
no,
Interesting.
no, sorry, no, that was the spell. The spell is to make everyone forget who Peter Parker is. Everyone remembers Spider-Man, but not remember who the hell Peter Parker is. Memory, and then he goes to the coffee shop where MJ works, tries to talk to her, gave up, leaves. Just find out that they did get into Harvard, and buys an apartment somewhere in Manhattan. And that is the end of the oh no, the end of the movie shows him swinging around in a new suit made by himself out of a sewing machine. And that is the end of No Way Home in my very quickly trying to remember summary of the film. Now, go Jacob with complaints.
All
Oh,
right, this movie's trash. I'm not gonna hold back on it. All right. So my first main complaint: the returning characters feel like bastardized versions of the original selves. I give it because if you look back at the original movies, well, a lot not all the characters are bastardized versions of themselves. If you look back at the original, like Spider-Man 2, Alfred Molina is like he's playing a complete different character in this movie. And and another thing is this Spider-Man is not as good as the other two. And that's not to say that, if you like this movie, you're stupid. I don't think that. But this Spider-Man never learned any lessons. He's making the same exact mistakes at in the third movie as he was in the first one. He had a chance to grow, but they never gave him the chance. Instead, what they did is, I don't know if this sounds brutal. You can let me know, Carl.
Oh,
But they
well,
brought in old characters to actually make me want to watch this movie because because I know that I personally I didn't care for the second movie. First movie was okay, but this movie just cemented the fact this is my least favorite Spider-Man it's ever been, and it's not like I don't know. What do you think of this Spider-Man as far as because I talked about this a lot, but what do you think of this
yeah.
Spider-Man as far as character goes?
Problem with my mind is I know why he's so bad. It's one, it's it's Sony and Marvel not playing well together. That I can't get on my mind. It's he was doing it in Homecoming. He said he's going to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then the Russo brothers grab him and put him into the Avengers two films. That didn't help.
Oh, so
Third,
now we can talk about the lesson that they were trying to like show in Homecoming, which I actually liked, which was to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and be part of your community.
yeah, but the Russo brothers, not faulting them, but they kind of grabbed him out of what he learned in Homecoming and just threw him back in as the one we kind of met in Civil War, essentially. Kind of what they did. Give him the Iron Spider suit that he was supposed to get at the end of Homecoming, which he turned down. Then another strike against him is Far From Home is like Iron Man 3. It is the cap to something they never thought could have happened. An entire 10 years of the MCU. They never thought that they could do past the first Avengers film. So Iron Man 3 is just the epilogue to that. See with Far From Home. It is the epilogue to Endgame, essentially. So you take out Spider-Man and technically even rework his material somewhat, it's still just an epilogue to Tony Stark in the entire 10 years of the MCU.
Yeah,
It's another strike. So then the director and the writers had to figure out, okay, how do we fix this? And it's like, and they couldn't, and two, they kind of blew up the deal in 2019 between Sony and Marvel. Well, Sony and Disney blew it up. So then that's another problem they have to fix. So more strikes against it. So it's like, how are we going to make this Spider-Man movie work? Because even then, Spider-Man No Way Home is the I don't want to say the fifth, but fifth or sixth MCU movie to make over $1 billion. I think it made almost close to $2 billion if I remember right. But
it made a lot.
it made a lot of money. And I say it, most of it was like, how are they going to use Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe? How are they going to redeem Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the Lizard and Sandman? Now he said no one cared about them. Maybe you did, but no one else cares about the Lizard, and no one cares about Sandman. They can go away. And then some reason have Venom appeared a few times in a few. I don't know. He only appeared in the post-credit scene of Venom and Two, and the post-credit scene of No
Oh,
Way
I
Home.
forgot about the post credit scene. That it was just useless. So I just
And the only thing
left it in
left
my
it is
mind.
only thing left of that. Only thing substantial, and we haven't seen anything of it since 2021. A piece of the Venom symbiote is stuck in the MCU at a bar somewhere in Timbuktu.
Yeah, so
Somehow,
we do
like,
not know where it is.
no. Some people theorize it may show up in Secret Wars coming out in 2028 if the rumor or fact is right. But even then, that's still like, that's 7 years since it supposedly that drop has been there. Okay, fine. Is there anything? So, multiple strikes against the film. It's that Holland Spider-Man in general. It's like so many people had fingers in the pie of that film, of that Spider-Man. If they took a few fingers out, he might have been a good Spider-Man. He may be better now that Sony may have pulled because I've heard again, these are rumors I've heard Feige wants a. I know I'm going on a long tangent.
No, that's fine.
Feige wants a neighborhood Spider-Man film, and can you guess what Sony wants? We're playing guessing game.
A, a multiversal film
There we go. Because guess what has gotten Sony so much praise in the last few years?
into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse film.
It's not
And
only
if
the thing I think that they failed to mention is the reason why it's so good is not only just because it's a multiversal film.
no, because we care about Miles. Miles is our main character. He because X-Men 97's out. I'm not gonna spoil anything. He's like our Jubilee of the show. He is our eyes in this universe, essentially. We care about Miles. We care about his struggles, like we
If
cared about Tony.
multiverse was the only selling point,
You know,
then
I'll
Ant-Man
go.
would have been successful. Then Multiverse of
Nah,
Madness would have been better received if multiverse was the only reason why.
yeah, Ant-Man Quantumania had nothing to do with the multiverse. It barely mentioned it. But man, Multiverse of Madness, it made money. But guess why that movie made money? Not as much as Spider-Verse, I mean, No Way Home, but it made money. You know why? Can you guess why, Jacob?
No Way Home.
No Way Home
Or
didn't help it. Then it probably helped some it because people thought uh Toby or Andrew might come back. But all the cameos, the the Black Bolt cameo, no one thought would ever come because no one cares about
yeah,
that damn TV show. Seeing
yeah. I actually
Professor,
watched it. It was not that good. So I can
you
confirm.
were braver than some folks, Jacob, because I didn't even watch it. I watched the entirety of the Arrowverse, and I nearly lost my goddamn mind on it. But not the point. People are happy to see. I guess people are happy to see Mordo because we haven't seen him since Doctor Strange 1, which makes sense in a Doctor Strange film. They were happy to see Professor X, Professor Charles Xavier, who looks a lot like the 90s X-Men animated series version. But happy to see I guess people were somewhat happy to see Captain Marvel, the a different version, not Carol Danvers, the mom of Monica Rambeau, but the
Yeah,
big one, the big freaking one, seeing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. That's why this film made it. Not Spider, not No Way Home. Multiverse of Madness made so much money as it did because of all the cameos.
no one actually cared about the movie.
No, it's a Doctor Strange film that has nothing to do with Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Like we like Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. We even like I like him in No Way Home. But anyone who's used him outside of Dr. Watiti, which someone said that name right finally, and the
yeah.
Russo brothers have used him well. His own two film and Spider and No Way Home used him didn't use him at all very well. For a majority of the
They seem
film,
to think that his only purpose is to just do multiverse stuff when he has his own character.
he's expedition dump. That's all he is in these films.
Yeah,
It,
even in Avengers, they don't even use him correctly.
they use him to make multiple versions, keep the time stone up until he Tony Stark's about to die, thanks to Thanos, which you've not seen that film. It's almost a decade old. You should have seen it by now. I'm sorry. Even no Way Home, which again you shouldn't be watching it because we're doing I guess a rant video on this or Multiverse of Madness, but until Tony's almost dead, does he give up the damn stone? Now he's really useless. And even the ancient ones surprised when they go back in Endgame to see what like why did Doctor Strange give that away? It's like God. But back to No Way Home because I don't know where I was. What was your question? Because I went on a long rant for some reason.
Oh, I was saying, do you think it would have? Do you think they would have? I guess do you think it would have sold well if there were no old characters? Do you think anyone would have cared? Like,
I
because
eh,
obviously there were a lot of people like me who don't like MCU Spider-Man. and
Yeah.
and like those people, they only came back to see the old people.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the films now so I can see because I'm gonna base this answer off of how much they made. Uh, License. How much money? You don't tell me how much they made. Crap. Wrong list. Ad list. I need to know how much they made. Give me a minute. Let me pause this so it don't look like I'm answering some stupid one. To answer your question of do I think it would if it would have been a good film and people would have gone seen it? Yes, just because Far From Home, which kind of that and Endgame and Infinity War started the problem, but it made over $1 billion. People wanted to go see that Spider-Man film, and even Homecoming from a 2 years before that, it made 888 million. I think people would have gone seen it. Do I think it would have made as much money as it did? The 1,912,000,000 it made? No, I do not think it would have made that much. I would say it probably made in about the same room as about I'd say Far From Home, maybe Homecoming.
Which is
But
still a lot of money, but
it's still a
it's
lot
not
of
the
money,
same.
but I do not think it would have made as much as it did.
Mhm.
But again, another thing that
Like our main question, I guess, thesis is this movie good? If we're looking at it as a Spider-Man movie, not as like
as
a
a film in general,
cameo.
like an MC, as a uh, as a Spider-Man film,
So
I think
first let's look at the acting, right? So that's going to be one of those important parts.
I
Is the
think
is the acting good?
I think Colin did an amazing job for what he was given. That's what I think he did a great job on what he was given.
I've never actually hated on his acting itself, so I will have to agree with you. I think his acting is pretty fantastic. I mean,
I
he took what he was given and did what he could with it.
Yeah, he tried to throw in as much as he could. Yeah, but I I think and again, I can say this about all of them, but out of all of the main cast of Spider-Man, MJ, Ned, and Doctor Strange, I'd say Holland and Benedict did the best job. Ned did pretty well, and I was not a fan of. Zendaya is probably a good actor. I just saw her in Dune Part One. I haven't seen Part Two yet, but she did a pretty good job in what she was given. But does that mean it was given a lot of? I definitely think she's the weakest link in that film. Minus again a lizard and Sandman, because again they didn't do much either. But what did you think on all the acting?
Um,
Answer that question back to you.
okay, acting wise, I think it was pretty good. Uh, my main problem comes with the script, so I can't hate on the actors themselves. I think the standout actor as far as villains go was Jamie Foxx.
Oh yeah, because he was given a lot more to work with in this film.
He
In
actually had a
Amazing
character.
Not Doctor Strange. In Amazing Spider-Man 2, his two defining personality traits were he is a nerd that nobody likes in the office of Oscorp, and Spider-Man tried to help him, and then got upset that Spider-Man did not remember him. That was his defining character traits. Those are not good character traits to give a character at all.
No,
Being upset that the main character in the film did not remember the random guy he saved. Okay, you ask a cop or a firefighter if they remember the guy they saved from a burning building 2 weeks ago. It had been about a month maybe between when Andrew Garfield Spider-Man saved him and when he became Electro. It's like it's about two. Like I said, ask a cop or firefighter if they remember the person they saved from a burning building 2 weeks ago. There's a good chance they won't remember because they've had a lot of other people to save between now and then.
But it's not like it's not like they
Not
hate
they're
the
not
person they
they're not
saved.
no, they didn't do it on purpose. It's just that one, the human mind can only hold in so much information as it can. As new information comes in, old information has to come out at some point.
Yeah,
Like essential things like how to breathe, how to talk, how to ride a bike. Those things stay with you. The random, like, we'll use a different example. A random guy you meet at a Starbucks 2 weeks ago, you won't remember him
yeah,
unless he becomes your best friend. But that's the difference. But it was a random guy, okay, and his design sucked. That's also what sucked too.
you honestly, you honestly
I know,
true.
I know they were going for the Ultimate Spider-Man look, but no, go with the original or go with a modified version of the original, which they did in No Way Home. They gave him the yellow costume somewhat, and when he was lightning, he became slightly yellow. Yeah, definitely
And then
Jamie Foxx is not very. He did a fantastic job of what he did.
I would say that yeah, I don't have like the acting was pretty Marvel standard. Um, I think now we should talk about this. Actually, no, let's talk about the CGI.
Is again, yeah, Sandman being Sandman and the lizard. We all knew that was CGI. There's no way you could make a 10-foot lizard man out of. I guess you could make a 10-foot lizard man out of practical effects, but you're not making a guy made out of sand with practical
Uh,
effects. That ain't gonna
how did they
work.
make
I'm
the
sorry.
lizard look worse than he did in the original movie?
I don't know. But I get okay. I get the arms. Like, yeah, it'll be like the arm being practical, but I heard that was a lot of pain on Alfred Molina's back, and he's a lot older than he was in Amazing, and than he was in Spider-Man 2. We don't need to break our actors. So I understand why they weren't with it that they were CGI. Plus, adding the nanotech was CGI.
Yeah, I get it.
Same with all the spells that's standard for Doctor Strange. Same with the webs; those are always CGI. And then the nanotech too. Again, that's all. Nanotech's always been CGI since as long as they've been doing it. It's been CGI. Because you can't do tiny things as practical effects.
Yeah,
Yeah, but stuff that there probably was like cars that were CGI that I couldn't tell that were CGI. Maybe the goblin flying, maybe, but again, you have to look at it again to really tell. It's not as obvious as in Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania because that entire set was entirely CGI.
all right. So now we're going to talk about one of the two main points which I will use against this movie. We're
Mhm.
going to talk about the tone. This movie is a mess when it comes to tone.
Yep.
I don't know what they wanted because the first part is like a fun crossover with all the other series, and then suddenly goes into this thing where spoiler alert, Aunt May dies, and then it becomes suddenly like, really depressing. And they've made like jokes all throughout because this is a Marvel movie. They can't go without making they can't have a serious tone, and then they suddenly change tone halfway through, and it's super inconsistent because let's consider what happened in the previous movie, right? Someone exposed his identity, and so his whole family is in danger.
Mhm.
Well, how do we go from there? There's serious consequences. Well, the filmmakers try to make a joke out of it, and then made him mess it up because he already didn't mess things up by trusting someone and giving them technology that could
Alter.
destroy the world. But that's just a dumb teenager thing, right? And so
Mm,
he messes up the spell and completely ruins two of his friends' lives. And so it's just played off as a joke. This would not have been played off as a joke in any other Spider-Man movie. I hate to point it out. Would you agree with that? Like all these consequences would not have been played out as a joke.
yeah, yeah. But
But okay, so we have that tone right there, right? Well, it's kind of just cameo the movie until until we get to the point where Aunt May dies, and then it becomes this deeper thing, and then they finally use that line that something they've never said before, and then they give it to the wrong person because
but we do know from someone saying it that he did die. Uncle Ben did die in that
yeah,
universe. He didn't like. He's not like he didn't exist. He did exist,
yeah.
and he did die.
My point is though, I don't like how it. I mean, like he's never taken responsibility at all. This Spider-Man has never taken any responsibility for his actions. This is he hasn't learned obviously, and this is clear by the fact he's trying to like he messes up a spell that ruins his friends' lives, and all this stuff is like it is quite it is quite dumb. I don't understand why people will defend that. Um, so we have there are some funny lines. I'll give you that, but generally I didn't care about this Peter Parker in the first place. So asking me to care about you know his aunt dying in the movie is a lot to ask. Because this Peter Parker has never been through any hardship because all his actions have been solved or he has no consequences for them. This is the only consequence he's ever experienced in his entire franchise. Because even his identity being played off, which is a huge thing. I remember back in the Civil War, not the movie, the comic. Remember where his Aunt May gets basically assassinated as a result of him being dumb and his identity getting revealed.
Yeah, I
Well,
remember that.
there there's no such thing here. It's like, oh, whoops, my identity's revealed. Hey, can you let my friends into college? It's like if you're a superhero who a lot of supervillains hate, they're gonna go after your family, but they don't.
I will say just I mean I am going to some I'll be being dumb. He didn't really have a lot of supervillains. He his two villains he had in his film in his two one's in prison and he never getting out. The other one's deader than a door. He doesn't have any other supervillain. The only thing he had was people hating him specifically. People throwing rocks, throwing paint, throwing other things at him. I don't remember the paint. The paint was kind of funny. Him trying to get that paint off. That was kind of funny. But
I don't know how do you because last when was the last time you watched it?
I've watched it since it came out in 21. I haven't seen it since. No, no, no. I saw it at the movie night thing we did. Outside of that,
How
I've
how
never
did
seen.
you how did you feel about like home yourself? Because I have my own biased opinion on it. I want to know what you think about
I
it.
just, I get, I don't hate it, but again, I don't love it either. It's just a Marvel movie to me now. It's just a Marvel movie.
That's that's the issue. That's the core issue. A Spider-Man movie
But
should be a special thing. But if it feels just like all the other ones, it's not special.
I would say, out of all of the, like out of Phase Four, it's one of the better films of Phase Four. But again,
It's not really high bar.
a Phase Four of all the projects, it's in there, but it's just
Keep, keep in mind,
just a
like
film.
this review is taking out all the nostalgia factor. Right, we're looking
Yeah.
at it as it is. If you were to go back and watch it now, like how would you feel about it? And so, I guess my next question is going to be, what I guess the question I have is, would the story be cohesive or fun if we took out all the
We took
cameos?
out
Would
the
it have a solid story? Is like if there was no such thing as nostalgia and all these were like characters that we didn't already know, would this movie be as good to people?
I hate to say it,
Let's
but
let's say it's like something like a Multiverse of Madness where they introduced characters like what's a bad example? Like a regular movie with that mentions like multiverses. Do
what's
people
a
even care?
bad what's a bad movie that mentions the multiverse?
Or like a
You-
movie that mentions the multiverse but no one cares about it. I guess it'll be something. Multiverse
Uh,
has like cameo characters that no one really cares about.
yeah, I hate to say it, there's not a lot of multiverse movies to begin with, and a lot of them they have to they. So I gotta think of one.
Okay. Actually, no. Actually, I have a good example. So,
Okay,
it's about Multiverse of Madness again, but that movie, you know, when people remember it, they don't remember the plot or any of the story aspects. What do they remember?
specifically, they remember Wanda turning the Illuminati into a fucking joke, and outside of that, they remember he was in the office. I just said his name a minute ago in this video, but I just forgot.
Krasinski.
John Krasinski. Thank you. Yes, that's the only thing, and that and one other thing they'll remember. They they brought back the guy from the Inhumans show. Why? That's all they'll remember. They'll remember Doctor Strange.
But
Will
my point is,
remember.
does anyone remember the plot, or does anyone remember any good moments from it, or do they only remember the cameo characters?
I'd say they'll remember the cameo characters. And only one thing that wasn't a cameo scene I remembered was they brought when Doctor Strange was dreamwalking in his dead self and he had that cool zombie cape. That was kind of fun. That's all I remember.
What? Okay, so what do you remember? So you haven't watched it in a while, but what do you remember about
Of Multiverse of Madness of
no
that
of
plot.
no of Spider-Man? Like if so, I guess I'll ask you, what do you when you think of Spider-Man 1, what do you remember about it?
I remember the science scene where he was trying to take a picture of MJ. He got bit by a spider. Norman getting almost kicked out of the company. He tries his experimental, uh, I'm gonna call it super soldier serum because that's essentially what it was. The super soldier serum on himself, turns into the goblin, goes after the people in his company, goes after Spider-Man, scares the living daylights out of after he figures out who Spider-Man is during the Thanksgiving scene. Remember, scares the living daylights out of it. Aunt May, Aunt May, and telling him that he and Spider-Man are not much different. Try to convince him to turn over to the evil side. Try to stab him with the glider. Spider-Man jumps out of the way and kills himself in the process. And then Harry, for the rest of the film franchise, hates it. But all I remember is Spider-Man 1.
That's pretty much the entire plot.
Okay, I might have missed a few details here or there, but I think I have the general thing. Oh, and
But
I gotta love J.K. Simmons.
but regarding like the actors, all that stuff,
Yeah, I remember
like
Toby,
when
Kristen, Willem. I don't remember the name, but I remember Harry's actor.
That would be
Uh,
James Franco.
only person I can't remember is I can't remember the actor who played Flash either. But that scene was fun. Those two scenes were fun. The food scene and the fight with the fight in the locker room. That was kind of fun.
But I think for me, it's like when I remember that movie, I think of the beginning of Spider-Man and like the lessons he learns and how to be like how to be good to others and be a good person, not selfish. Because that's really the lesson of that movie. His selfishness is the reason he is the reason that Uncle Ben dies.
Yeah.
And if you want my thesis on what makes a good Spider-Man movie, the lesson learned that that's what someone will remember from the Spider-Man. At least for me, at least that's what I remember from them.
I think that. Are you going to ask me if I remember a plot of every Spider-Man movie?
No,
Because
no.
I guess I can't remember. I can remember some things from Spider-Man 2. Can't remember much of Spider-Man 3, and I haven't seen Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2 in so long. I can't remember their plots either. So don't ask me
Amazing
stuff.
Spider-Man one and two have very solid themes. Two is just a very muddled movie,
Yeah,
but
that movie had too much stuff, too much crap stuffed in it.
now when we talk about it, we're gonna talk about the message of Homecoming. What was the message of Homecoming?
Essentially, I can summarize it in one sentence. Peter thought he was too big for his britches. He come to find out he was too big for. He got taught the hard way. He is too big for his britches. That is stick with the pants analogy. Decided he stick with a smaller set of pants than the bigger ones, and then got the bigger
He
pants.
learned to go smaller and try to be a neighborhood Spider-Man because he
And
realized
then
he's not an Avenger.
nope. And then No Way Home, and not No Way Home. And get Infinity War and Endgame gave him the big pants anyways.
And you see that problem wise, the inconsistency in the writing. You talked about this earlier, but like they essentially just didn't care. They wanted a Spider-Man in the movie, and they're like, let's use this one, even though the last movie literally ended with him saying he didn't want to be an Avenger.
Yeah, but I hate to say it. Even if, like, how Peter, even in the comics, he's the neighborhood Spider-Man. For big events that affect the entire world, he does show up in. He would have to show up anyways, even just to say. He should have stayed on. If anything, if he didn't want him, if you want to make him stay local, but keep him in the movie, don't have him join Tony and the Guardians. Have him stay with Cap in the event in Wakanda. Then he's still on Earth. He's defending the planet, but he's still on Earth, his neighborhood, not in the middle of space in Timbuktu land. That would have worked better.
But I think for this Spider-Man, since it has the same writer for most of it, but the lessons learned they're not there. Like after the first one, what lesson does he learn after what lesson does he learn in No Way Home or in Far From Home? He learns not to
Give
trust.
experimental military tech to random strangers.
And yeah, but even then, when we think it's a serious thing, they make a joke out of it in the other one basically, and turn into a comedic situation when this is honestly the most terrifying thing you can imagine.
Yeah, but they cleaned up his legal situation pretty quick. Happy the one who has to deal with a really major problem.
And then
He's the one getting sued as hell.
wasn't oh yeah, also in Far From Home, there's a scene. It's the back in black scene. Remember that?
You might
The
need to
scene.
clarify me with that scene because
All
I don't
right.
know what
So
it is.
in that movie, he's trying to distance himself from Iron Man. What he
Yeah,
does,
I remember that.
he goes into the plane and like replicates the exact like almost the exact scene of when he first makes the armor, basically calling like making a callback to Tony Stark.
again, that's the problem with that film. It's the epilogue to Endgame, which is all about Tony. So that's again,
So
that's the problem with it.
so if he's trying to be his own person, which he isn't throughout the entire movie, but you keep comparing him to Tony Stark, you're missing the plot, as the kids say these days. Like, you're muddling your message, and so when for me it's like, and then in this one there's like no stakes, even though his identity is revealed. So it's like for me, I can't get into them. There's no stakes. No matter what mistake he makes, he always gets, there's always some MacGuffin, whether it be like a magic spell that gets him out of situations. I don't know if
Magic
that makes
spell, some magic spell, random soup modification,
and like
person.
think about like right in the older movies, um like Spider-Man and Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man, right? He
Mhm.
he has his uncle Ben goes out to try to find him, and they get shot in the street, right? Which it's not the perfect comparison, but it was all because of his attitude. The reason why that happened, and to me, when I see that scene, I'm like, yeah, he learned his lesson there. He learned his lesson not to disrespect family, and he learned his lesson uh, to help people when he can, not ignore bad people. And I know, like because I've heard everything. I've heard don't bring back Uncle Ben. It's repetitive. Do you know why Uncle Ben's important? Because of this fact. It teaches him responsibility. Because of his irresponsibility, he lost his uncle. So it's not that that I just want to keep seeing the same death scene over and over, but it's that the message that it sends and teaches Peter Parker, it sets the tone for his entire life. This Peter Parker walks around as if there's no stakes. At least I don't know. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's kind of had. I would talk about this with somebody else. He has the safety net.
There's no safety net for Peter Parker in the other movies. He has no one to call. He has no one to help him. He has to deal with his own problems, and whatever he does, nope. If he like goes out to hang out with Mary Jane, well, he's ignoring a crime, and someone could die from that. So he needs to make sacrifices, and a sacrifice is a key aspect of Spider-Man. There's no sacrifice here. He gets everything, and like that's I think that's my big issue. Like it's not just the Iron Boy Jr. allegations, which he's not beating. It's the fact that he doesn't learn anything. The only time like you hear about like the troubles that everyone else went through when they explained to him. I'm not saying like losing an aunt is in the story is not effective. But when you hear what these other ones went through, man, they went through so much more. Like he's had barely any hardship in his life. I remember when I made a prediction for Spider-Man 3, I said they have to have something happen. So I predicted, they're gonna kill Aunt May off. Turns out it was right. They did. Because that
Oh,
actually it
oh,
actually
you mean No Way Home? Sorry, we used to find right there. I thought of the Raimi one. Like, no, they killed Harry in that film.
yeah. And so for me, it's like, that they needed stakes. Spider-Man needs stakes, or else there's no Spider-Man. There's nothing on the line. Then we're just watching. We're not watching a person who could be real, a down to earth person. We're watching a superhero. which of course he is, but this. I don't know. How do you feel about like the analysis?
Okay. Is that all you have to say on this film, Jacob Bartholomew?
So I guess my
Okay.
my favorite scenes, if I were to say anything,
Yeah.
would actually be the scenes that have nothing to do with Tom Holland. Um, I really like the Electro scene with Andrew Garfield because it actually gave us a little bit of closure.
Yeah, definitely, because we don't get his Spider-Man. Poorly, we might get something with him, but you never know.
Um, I don't like the end. I don't like how they just reset everything.
That wasn't funny though.
Like it's an obvious setup for the next writer to come in, which they've already confirmed. I forgot his name, and so we're gonna have another guy messing with the storyline of Peter Parker, this Peter Parker. So it's gonna be so if you're watching them in order, it's not gonna make any sense.
Yep.
And so he might have a completely different style. And I think this movie in general was just a nostalgia bait movie. I think
Yeah,
it doesn't have the story to actually be considered a decent Spider-Man movie. It it has like Marvel movie humor, which is like no stakes, all jokes. They're exception movies, but a lot of them are like this, and it just doesn't stick out to me as a Spider-Man movie. So if you are watching it for the first time, um, I don't know why you're still here with the spoilers, but yeah, I'd suggest trying not to look at it as like this. Look at it critically. Like think of it as an actual Spider-Man movie, not like a bunch of cameos, and see like is this movie actually good? I guess that'd be my
worst.
only thing.
I'd say the worst thing about that film, it taught both Marvel and Sony the wrong lesson. Not to put your chips, all your chips in Spider and in not Spider-Verse. That definitely didn't happen. Put all your uh put all your chips in the multiverse. And second thing they
If
learned for Sony that they know what the hell they're doing. So Sony has no clue what the hell they're doing.
No, they don't. Because they could have easily like I would have had less problems with this movie if they had done something with the plot and kept the death of Aunt May. If it could have been so much better if there was no multiverse stuff.
Yeah,
The multiverse stuff was just there to cover up the plot holes and all the like the misuses or like the mediocre plot.
yep.
I mean, like to me, that's what it comes down to. This movie is like it's gonna sound brutal. This movie gets a 6 out of 10 for me,
I
almost a
hate to say
five.
it. I was gonna say a 6 out of 10 is still technically, if you're going by the American grade system, is still a passing grade.
Like the movie just isn't like if you compare it to one of the core Spider-Man films, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have any aspects of it. To be fair, the only movie that even somewhat passes it is Homecoming. Far From Home is even worse.
Yeah,
That's
I get that has, like I said, the main problem with that film is it's the epilogue. That's the problem with that.
also just not a good Spider-Man movie due to the message.
And the message comes from it being an epilogue to the end
Yeah,
game. Yeah. So my statement of it being an epilogue did not change it.
yeah,
It is still an epilogue.
yeah, as anyone listening can tell, I do not like this movie. I think
Yeah,
it is. I think it's not worth it to watch. Now, if you like it, that's cool. I respect it, but like, because I guess should I give my credentials?
credentials, sure, if you want.
So
Because
I've
what do you mean by
read.
that?
I know a majority of Spider-Man's history, comics wise. I know I've watched most of the shows. I like, I want to say 80% of the movies, and even I love the Spider-Verse ones. They're really good. So it's not that I hate the idea of a multiverse. So
Just don't let it be the foundation of your damn projects.
no, you need to have
Make it.
heart. You need to have heart under it and good tone.
I'm looking at you, Marvel. Don't make it your foundation, but you did.
So I think for me that's what makes a Spider-Man movie bad is the fact that like if I take away the Spider-Verse aspect, we still have Miles Morales, someone we actually care about, and his struggle of trying to find his identity as in the world.
Yep.
What I mean, what if you think about it? What are we actually learning about Peter Parker from this movie, from No Way Home?
From No Way Home specifically, or the entire Homecoming trilogy?
I guess you could say from the whole trilogy. What would you say you learned about him? How would you describe
Well,
him if someone asked you to describe him in all three and you had to describe Tom Holland?
I describe him as he's definitely intelligent. He's an intelligent guy, able to make his own fluid, but and don't take that out of context, internet. You know what I mean. I know you, internet. Don't do it. But but hate to say it, for being an intelligent guy who can do that, he is an idiot through and through. He isn't it. That's about all I can say about him.
He it's like that I describe his movies. I'm gonna use a level three word here as vapid. There's no real meaning to them. Like there's nothing you can take from them. Like in terms of like a Spider-Man message, they're literally just like they're literally just there. If you take away like if especially No Way Home is the worst offender. If you take away the multiverse, this movie is nothing. Why is it like what does he learn? Don't let your identity get exposed, but you can always start over. Like, that's kind of the feeling I got from that
Yeah.
was it and if you look at the other ones have all been deal with the consequences of your actions and learn from them. I guess, yeah, if I were to say the heart of Spider-Man is dealing with consequences and learning from them. But this Spider-Man never does. Instead, he just kind of, you know, oh no, I revealed my identity. Can you please create a spell?
I hate to say it, that was actually pretty smart of it. To go to
Uh,
someone to
uh,
see if he could fix his problem for him. That was pretty smart.
no, I'm not denying it wasn't smart, but like I think it would have been more interesting to have to deal with the consequences of that and how it would affect his life. Because the best Spider-Man stories show the consequences and how he deals with it. I don't know. It's maybe I'm just overthinking these movies or something. But like I see a lesson in pretty much every single one.
I hate to cut you off, dude, but I hate to say I feel like we're talking in circles now. I feel like
Yeah.
we are now. So we're going to end this episode here of our discussion on is No Way Home good or is it all just nostalgia bait?
Well,
Comment
let us
your
know. Let us
opinion.
know in the comments.
Let us know in the comments if you think what you think of this, and if you like what we do, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.
Yeah.